Welcome to the Radical Success Podcast, where we focus on internal transformation to experience external results. I'm your host and coach, Doreen Rainey. Join me each week for insightful messages and powerful interviews to equip you to take bold, courageous, and radical action to live the life you want and deserve. It's your Radical Success Coach, Doreen Rainey, and welcome to another episode of our Radical Success Podcast, where we focus on internal transformation that leads to external results. I have such a fabulous guest with me today, and I couldn't be more excited to have a conversation with her around business and how it relates to who we are on the inside, and how we can continue to grow, develop, and increase our bottom line as we also continue to grow in our personal development. But let me tell you just a little bit about Darnyelle Jervey Harmon. Passion, purpose, and persistence are three words that thoroughly describe her. Darnyelle is a business growth strategy, and she helps uncompromising entrepreneurs become 6- or 7-figure CEOs in 12 months or less. And she does this through her consulting firm, Incredible One Enterprises. She's the creator of the Incredible Factor University, a business school for those entrepreneurs, and also an inner circle where she focuses on mentorship for women business owners. So please welcome to the podcast, Darnyelle Jervey Harmon.
Hello, hello, hello.
I have to remember that last name. I'm so, I know many of you might not know that she just got married recently and has that last name now. So how's married life?
So far, so good. And I still get a little tickle out of hearing a Harmon on the end of my name too. So, but yeah, we're having fun and getting acclimated. You know, for those of you who are married or have been married, you know, the first year is all about transition, which is probably perfect for our conversation today, Doreen. But we're loving it. We're enjoying married life, and we're excited about what is next and best for us together as a couple.
Yes. Well, I am excited to talk with you because we've known each other for, it must be going on 8-9 years now.
Yeah.
And we have gone through this entrepreneurial journey together. I founded my Radical Success Institute, which is 10 years old this year. And you have also been working diligently in your own business to help others succeed inside of your Incredible One Enterprises. So first of all, tell me a little bit about what it is you do and why do you feel called to do this work?
Oh, I love those questions. So at the end of the day, what I do is I help entrepreneurs and small business owners experience abundance financially and spiritually by showing them how to build a business that funds the life they crave. And what I really love to do is to take an entrepreneur who comes to me with some amount of success. They haven't reached the pinnacle. They know they want to be generating multiple 6 or 7 figures, but they haven't quite been able to connect the dots in a way that it honors their spirituality and it honors their gifts and talents, and it doesn't create for them this crazy job that they left behind when they entered the world of entrepreneurship. And so I help them to connect those dots, and from it rises a business that serves them fully, and it allows them to profitably impact the world.
You know, I love what you talked about around not just creating a job. Mm-hmm. And many times people go into entrepreneurship for the freedom. They want freedom of flexibility. They want freedom to continually increase their income at a pace that reflects their opportunities and their ability to grow. But many times people find themselves tied to their jobs, or tied to their business just as if they were tied to a job. Mm-hmm. And so what are a couple of pieces of advice that you can give that entrepreneurs can use to set themselves up so they're not just creating a job, they really are creating the lifestyle that they had in their minds when they became an entrepreneur?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I would say probably the biggest thing I see across the board, and this is whether I'm talking to men entrepreneurs or women entrepreneurs. I know both you and I, Doreen, we spend most of our time working with women just because I think we are attracted to people who are like us and can understand our journey. But regardless which side of the gender they fall on, what I see over and over and over again is that they're just not charging enough. And I know the conversation we're having today about that, how you see yourself internally is going to determine how you show up externally. That drives your price point, right? And so the fastest way to turn your business into a job is to not charge enough. And so that's probably the biggest mistake that I see over and over and over again. I would say outside of that would be making sure that you're constantly up-leveling your mindset. I say, your success or the lack thereof is tied to the 6 inches in between your ears. And just like you wash your behind every single day, you need to wash your mind every single day. And I really do hope that those who are listening do take a bath every day. I hope you do. And if you don't, start taking a bath every day, and then also start working on your mindset every single day. Like, having a business is exciting. It's great to do work that changes the lives of others, but it is hard. Yeah. And if you don't take the time to look internally every single day, you'll look around and what's happening outside of you will not be what you wanted. And many of us, myself included, have fallen into that trap. I remember when I first crossed over the 7-figure mark, and you and I have had this conversation several times, and how I looked around and I hated what I had created. Mm-hmm. I didn't love it. And it was because I took my eye off the prize, if you will. I stopped focusing on me and I start focusing on all of these external factors. And it showed up in my business. And it showed up not necessarily from what I was earning, because I was making great money, but I couldn't enjoy it because I had created a monster. I created a job for myself successfully, but I quit my job to experience, like you said earlier, that freedom of entrepreneurship. So I think, between constantly up-leveling your mindset, always thinking about your self-care, and making sure that you raise your rates, those are probably the 3 biggest tips I would tell you. And from a self-care perspective, just to bring it home, we've all heard this analogy a million times, but we don't realize it until our cup is empty, is when we get on the plane, right? We get on the airplane and the flight attendant says, if the cabin loses pressure, an oxygen mask will drop. Please secure your mask before helping those who are traveling with you. And that's regardless of who's traveling with you, your spouse, your children, your employees, your team, no matter who it is. If you don't take care of you, you will be no good to them. And you cannot be the best entrepreneur, CEO, small business owner if you're all jacked up and shacked up because you're in pain or sick because you're not taking care of yourself.
Right.
So I would say those are probably the biggest things. And I think simultaneously, those are the things that keep people from experiencing transformation at the next level.
And what's interesting is it also prevents people from experiencing the next level, even if they aren't entrepreneurs. So let's flip this over to, those who may be in a corporate career. When you talk about not charging enough, you have to begin to ask yourself, what is the value that I bring to an organization?
Absolutely.
And go ahead.
I was just going to say, and know that you have the power to negotiate. We do not have to, just because the job description says that it comes with $75,000 a year, doesn't mean you have to take it. If you were sought out, I always say the invitation is your validation, right? So if you've been invited to come and join this company, to apply for this position, it's because they see something in you that is going to make the processes and the people in that particular department or in that organization better. Leverage that and go get what you need so that you can experience the lifestyle you want to have. Like, what's the point of getting up and going to work every single day and working from dark 30 to dark 30 to not have a whole lot to show for it?
Right. And we actually have more say in what we have to show for it than I think we give ourselves credit for. So number one, if you're in corporate America, what is the value that you bring? You can actually put a number on it. Mm-hmm. You can begin to position yourself so that you can earn the revenue, earn the income, earn the salary that reflects what you are bringing to the table. And if the current organization doesn't see that in you, then you have to be willing to go and look outside of that organization to where is the place where I can thrive, where I can contribute, where I can have impact, where I can be rewarded, where I can be recognized, and believe that that place is out there. I am one of those coaches that I do not believe everyone should be an entrepreneur. Who would check me into my hotel, who would fly the plane,
Right.
who would, and I don't think that if you're working in a corporate job or if you're working for someone else, that you don't have the opportunity to build your dream. That's saying if you ain't building your own dream, you building somebody else's. Well, the truth is you can build your dream inside of an organization. But number one, you have to first decide, what am I worth? What do I bring to the table and how should I be paid for that? And then even inside of that self-care, we talked about, dark 30 to dark 30. Where is a place where you can find family time? You can offer flexibility in your schedule, in your working hours. It is out there. And many times we think we don't have control, but we actually have more control than we give ourselves credit for.
I agree 100%, Doreen. I mean, at the end of the day, this is what I tell the clients that I work with, the corporate clients that bring me in to do workshops and such and so forth. The only differential you have is the people. So if you haven't taken the time to mine the talent in your organization and you're not going out to find the talent, paying people more than the job itself says they should be paid so that they have the freedom and the flexibility to leverage their gifts and talents on behalf of the brand that they are helping you to extend, then you're missing the mark. So I agree with you 200% that not everyone is supposed to be an entrepreneur. And just because you've decided not to be an entrepreneur does not mean you need to sit behind someone else's desk and settle and suffer. You can absolutely sit behind someone else's desk and thrive and still transform your life and the lives of those around you. It's about understanding, as you said, you said your worth. I would say your value. And the reason why I say that is because we're all priceless. No one could afford us if this was about our worth. But although we're priceless, the work that we do every day is not. And that is where we can place a number on it. And so for those of you who are employees that are either currently in management or seeking management, you need to start doing your due diligence and looking at the numbers and finding out what the contribution you makes to the bottom line and how close you get to your organization's ability to offer a great return to their shareholders, to add value to their community, and to treat their customers with the utmost respect so that they remain their customers. You need to find an understanding of that because that is your leverage and that is your negotiation point to help to continue to bridge this equal pay gap. And I know I'm getting all excited over here, but
I know, because when we start going, we start going.
I know, but you do not have to take what someone says you should take. And that's whether you have your own business or you are working for someone else. And it is about surrounding yourself with coaches and mentors like Doreen, like myself. Like, there are many out there. Find the ones that work best for you, but find people who are committed to helping you really get access to whatever it is that you want, because you don't need to settle.
Yes. And, one of the other conversations that we've had, because we have both been consultants and coaches for a significant period of time, me 10 years, and I think you're probably about the same as well.
Yep.
And I have become fascinated, which I've said before on this podcast, which is why I started this podcast, at the number of people who have an enormous amount of information available to them, an enormous amount of processes and systems and how-tos at their fingertips. And yet, with all of that, we still don't always experience the success that we got this information for to help us move in that direction. And so I want to talk with you. You work with a lot of business owners, you work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and what have you noticed in terms of those who are able to go out there and build? They build to their 5 figures, they build to their 6 figures, they build to their 7 figures. And those who who are capable, who are smart, who have a great product or service, who seem to be someone who could thrive in a corporate environment, but yet don't. What have been, if you could identify a few different differentiators, if you will, between those two types of people, what has been your experience?
Oh, wow. This one's going to take us far. Because we could talk about this all day. So yeah, I can think about 3 things that really separate the two. And it's interestingly, it's the same on either side, but one is is leveraging it, is doing the work, and the other one is allowing that to be their excuses. And so we've talked about it. We'll continue to talk about it. And that's mindset, right? Mindset is so broad. It covers so many different things. So let me break it down a little bit more specifically. So I would say the first is fear, right? So we've all heard the tired cliche, but very real truth that we're only born with two fears. And that is the fear of falling or the fear of loud noise. But somehow in our lives, we've inherited all of these other fears. I call that our inner 7-year-old. And here's what I mean by that. Most of us, our lives are being lived by the 7-year-old version of ourselves, because in your first 7 years of living, that is when your subconscious mind creates your conscious mind. And your subconscious mind, which is where all these fears, limiting beliefs, and self-sabotage live and wreak havoc on you every single day. Most people don't even realize the tapes that are playing. So they are absolutely not creating disruptions and pattern interrupts in their lives to offset those subconscious beliefs. What they're doing instead is they're living into them, and consciously they are becoming and playing out what's been running behind the scenes from birth through the age of 7. And here's the thing. Doreen, we have all inherited someone else's stuff in our first 7 years, right? Because we're literally a sponge, and we take everything that's presented to us. Every single one of us, our subconscious mind takes everything that's presented as if it's the truth. And it's based on the experiences and the things you observe from 0 to 7. So I want you for just a moment to think about, either you're going to be really excited or you're going to be really mad when you think about things that happen to you from birth to 7. But most people are still stuck there because they haven't figured out how to manage and mitigate that. Fear is never going away. And anyone who would tell you to be fearless is a liar, because fear was created to keep you safe. But what fear is not supposed to do, it is not supposed to make you stop dead in your tracks. It is supposed to make you tighten up, evaluate your current situation, and figure out the best approach to get around the fear. That's what it's supposed to do. But for most of us, that's not what it does, right? So the person who is making it happen, who crossed 5 figures, crossed 6 figures, is on their way to 7 figures, versus the person who is stuck in 4 figures or low 5 figures, the biggest thing is fear. And whether it's fear of being rejected, or fear of overwhelm, or fear of success or failure, it's all really a fear of responsibility. Because if we accept that the things we're being presented to are designed to make us more responsible human beings in order to impact the earth that we live on, there's a lot of responsibility that goes along with that. And that's usually what we are shrinking away from. And so we have these big goals and these big dreams that we want to do these grand and wonderful things, but the responsibility of it, we haven't figured out how to manage it in such a way that we see the responsibility and we get excited, because then we can think about the adage that says, to whom much is given, or to whom much is given, much is required. But when everything that is required is given, you get everything that you want. We forget that part. We just get stuck in if I take this on, it's going to increase whatever I'm feeling right now. It's going to increase my anxiety. It's going to increase my doubt. It's going to increase my uncertainty. It's going to increase my anger. It's going to increase my jealousy. And I could go on and on and on about the things that it could increase. So I would say that that's probably the biggest one is mindset. So we couch it as that, but it includes all of these different things. And then I would say the second is consistency of action. So if me and you both have access to all of the same information, but you succeed and I don't, it's because I'm not taking the actions I most need to take to get access to the things I most want to have.
Yes. And know, the thing about consistency, and first of all, just fear. We have talked a lot about this on the podcast, and you are 100% right. Understanding what our fears are, where they come from, and how we're going to manage them, as opposed to eliminate it. So absolutely. And then the second piece of consistency. Oh my goodness, man, the difference between those who stay the course and those who are either inconsistent or completely jump off the course, those differences make a huge impact on the bottom line.
Oh, absolutely. Like we were just talking about that the other day. My husband and I get tickled every time I say that. We were talking about it the other day because a friend of his had an opportunity that was presented to him, and it was going to take a long time for him to get what he wanted. And initially he was gung-ho, he was with it, he was doing what he needed to do. And eventually he kind of tapered off and gave up. And you always give up way too soon, right? And we recently went to the movies, and this was what spawned the conversation. We went to see the new Tyler Perry movie. And the underlying theme of that movie, without giving it away for anyone, is don't give up on your dream. You can never give up, because you never know when it's finally going to come through. And in the movie, if you go and see it, you'll see what happens, because he never gave up on it. And you have to almost chase the dream with everything that you have and be willing to abandon anything that threatens the dream in order for the dream to be successful. And while you're chasing it, you've got to take those actions every single day. And there'll be people around you, I promise, who won't understand why you're doing this when there's no output, right? But there's this thing called faith, which says that I refuse to allow what I see right now to hinder what I believe to be true in my heart that I'm going to be able to access, because it's my dream. And that faith piece would be the third thing. When I'm thinking mindset, consistency, and then that faith, because that's what's going to keep you consistent while you're waiting for the result to finally show up for you.
And, I want to touch on the distinction that you made when it comes to being consistent and when it comes to giving up. So, for example, if you are an entrepreneur, you know that you have to, sell. And so just for a simple example, if making 5 sales calls a day is the minimum you need to do to bring consistent income in, and the fact that some days you do 3, some days you do 1, some days you do 4, some days you do 5, and then you're confused about why the revenue isn't coming in.
Right.
There are things that, as marketing goes, to be consistent in your marketing, whatever outlets of marketing that you choose, we know that there are over 50 ways you can market your business. And so whatever, 3, 4, 5 you're choosing, if you only do it one day and then you take a break for a couple of weeks and then you do something 3 weeks later, how is that consistent?
Right.
So that's different from I'm giving up, I'm stopping, this isn't working, it's never going to happen. And both of those are dream killers and dream stillers. But I really wanted the listeners to have that distinction of where are you not being consistent? Mm-hmm. Is it that you went to the boot camp 3 days, knowing that you need to be going to boot camp, for the rest of your life? Mm-hmm. And then you're mad because the weight's not coming off. It's consistency. When you think about building wealth, when you talk about money, and you are sometimes saving, sometimes not saving. Sometimes you hardcore on the budget and managing the money, and sometimes you're like, I've worked hard, I deserve to buy something today. Mm-hmm. And then you look up and you wonder, why isn't your wealth being built in the way that you have it in your head, but it's not showing up in your consistency?
Yep. I think a lot of people get themselves caught up by that. But it's always you. Like, we want to blame somebody else. We want to blame the man. We want to blame whoever the man is, right? We want to blame the economy. We want to blame all of these other things. But you got to, for what is the saying? When you point one finger out, there's 4 fingers pointing back at you. Mm-hmm. But you have to realize that there's something in you that needs to shift in order for you to get whatever it is that you want. And when we put the onus or responsibility on other people to fulfill our happiness, to give us the things that we want, we're totally missing the mark, because the only one you can ever control is yourself. And that's only if you're willing to take the actions you most need to take in order to get whatever it is that you really want to have.
Right. And, when I talk about getting radical, I talk about the concept that you define success for yourself, and now you got to have the guts to go after it. And so I want everybody right now to kind of give themselves, a mini gut check when it comes to your mindset and managing your fears. Where do you really fall on that? And being honest with yourself in terms of, where have I not been moving through my fears? Where have I not addressed my fears? Where have I allowed my fears to hold me back? When it comes to consistency, look at every area of your life. When it comes to your relationships, have you been consistent in being open and honest and communicating and making an effort? When it comes to your finances, have you been consistent with looking at where do I need to save? Where do I need to eliminate debt? Where do I need to build wealth? What is your consistency level? And when it comes to your faith, faith is believing those things that you can't see, knowing that they will manifest themselves when you get really, really good at 1 and 2.
Absolutely.
And sometimes I think we lean very, very heavily on number 3 because we don't want to deal with 1 and 2, which really means we have to look at ourselves. And we always love to throw it out there. Faith without works is dead.
Right.
I'm doing the work. Are you really? Just look at the last 7 days. If you're an entrepreneur, look at the last 7 days. Have you been consistent each and every day with whatever those things are you're supposed to be consistent with? Have you consistently networked, asked for referrals, made sales calls, sent proposals, marketed your business, connected with influencers? Have you been consistent each and every single day? If you're in corporate America, have you been consistent? Are you showing up on time? Are you contributing to the meetings? Do you have something to say? Are you innovative in your ideas? Are you being consistent? Because it's only in answering those 2 questions, then you can begin to bring up number 3, which is all around the faith.
Absolutely. I agree. I think you said that perfectly. And it doesn't matter. That's the important thing to keep in mind for those of you who are listening. It doesn't matter whether you're an employee or an entrepreneur. Your ability to access the things you want are all going to be tied to your commitment to yourself, right? Yeah. No one makes me get up every single morning and jump on the phone to do 90 minutes of business development every single day. And I have employees, I have people on my team who could easily do it for me. But I still do it myself because the only one who can guarantee that I get what I want is me.
Yeah.
And so I've got to decide to not let my fears or anything else get in the way and take the actions I most need to take in order to realize whatever it is I most want to realize.
Yes. And, we have been talking, a lot around the things that can get us where we need to be, regardless of entrepreneur or inside of corporate America. But I definitely cannot have you on this podcast and not talk specifically to the entrepreneurs who are listening, because not only have you built your own 7-figure business, but you work with those to help get them there too. And so just talking to our entrepreneurs for a moment, share with us the top 3 growth strategies that you recommend to your clients that our listeners can kind of assess themselves and see if they're positioned to grow their business even more.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I would say the number one thing outside of what we've already talked about, mindset, would be making sure that you have a tight brand message. Branding is how you get known. And if the message that you have is willy-nilly or unclear, or you flip-flop, if one day you're a relationship expert and the next day you're an event planner, there is a problem. And if there is a problem, that means no one is going to come to you to give you profit. Okay. So you have to be extremely clear, tighten your brand message. You want to be as clear, as specific as you can about the problem you solve and the outcome that you provide in that message. I always say you want to solve a spice problem and you want to give them a spice outcome. And they're both acronyms. On the problem side, SPICE stands for specific and substantive, pervasive and persistent, immediate and insurmountable, clear and conscious, expensive and expansive. And what I mean is the problem that you solve has to be literally keeping them awake at night, tossing and turning, costing them lots of money, and spreading like a rash until you show up in order to solve that problem for them. And then on the outcome side, it needs to be specific, positive, intentional, clear, and there needs to be evidence or results to demonstrate your ability to get that outcome for them. So you want to make sure that your message shows up in that way every single time. So don't try to be cute at the expense of being clear in the marketplace. I'd rather you get online and every single time you get online, you say the same exact thing than to try to deviate or get cute with your message. And at that point, people are no longer clear about what it is that you do. So that would be the first thing.
Well, and on that topic of brand message, and I love the breakdown that you just gave, because your brand message is not what you do.
Right.
It's the result that you deliver to your ideal client based on what you do.
Right. And based on the problem that they have. Absolutely.
Based on the problem that they have. And so one of the things that you have to get clear about is the problem, the main problem, and how you solve it. And if you can't answer those two questions, you have to go back to the drawing board. That should be as clear as day. This is the problem I know you have, and this is how I fix it.
Yep. Yep.
Yes. Brand message, number one. What's next?
And then after we tighten your brand message, you've got to find the right marketing mix for your ideal client. So I could say, spend all your time on Facebook ads, and that is only going to appeal if your ideal client is on Facebook to see the ads. If your ideal client is the government, then that's not the right marketing mix for the government. So identifying, as Doreen said earlier, there are 50 ways at least you could be marketing. So identifying the 3 to 5 that are going to work best in consistency for your ideal client is the next thing. And that can take as long as, it should take as long as it needs to take. And the reason why I say that, first, it could take up to 90 days for you to determine whether or not a marketing strategy has been effective, depending upon your market. Some things you'll get traction right away. Other things it's going to take time, so you can't give up too soon. And then you've got to test and split test and try lots of different things in order to reach your market in the most succinct way, in order to shorten your sales cycle. So you have to give yourself enough time and play around with those marketing, the various marketing streams to find the right ones for your client, because they are going to vary. We work with entrepreneurs that work B2C, as well as we work with entrepreneurs that work B2B. So depending upon whether your client is a consumer or a corporation, the way you have to show up and the way you have to market to them is different. So there's no one size fits all. We've got to find the right marketing mix for your clients. That's number 2.
And then number 3.
And then last would be mastering that sales conversation, honey. Because if you cannot sell me something in 2 minutes in the checkout lane at the supermarket, then you have a problem. So spending as much time as you have constantly tweaking and perfecting the conversation itself, as well as how to overcome those objections, you need to take your time. And in the conversation, you need to clearly identify their problem and how much that problem is costing them before you ever start talking to them about your solution. If they have not determined that this is a painful thing that's going to continue to cost them time, energy, and money before you start introducing your solution, you have lost. So take the time, take the courses, read the books, do what you need to do to master that sales conversation. Because with the right brand message, the right marketing mix, and a masterful sales conversation, you will build your business to 7 figures.
And I love all 3 of those. And circling back to our initial part of this conversation, which was around mindset, all 3 of these require the right mindset. When it comes to your brand message, not only do you have to know it, but you have to believe it from the bottom of your soul. When it comes to personal transformation and my radical method, there is no doubt in my mind that if you have a mindset issue and you need to deepen the learning about who you are and why you are and how come you stay stuck and you become an information gatherer instead of an action taker, I know that my method can solve your challenge. And so if you don't have that type of confidence with what your brand message is, you will continue to waffle, and people will sense that they're not quite sure if they can trust you.
Right.
And even when it comes to marketing and your mindset of, first of all, I love what you said, Darnyelle, about at least 90 days for some of these marketing strategies, because sometimes we give up way too soon. I spent $5 when I boosted my post and nobody called, nobody clicked. Okay, well, maybe there's some tweaking that needs to be done. So are you really giving yourself the opportunity? If the mindset is I'm in it for the long haul, let me do, measure, adjust, do, measure, adjust. And then that last piece around sales, which I think in my experience has been the biggest mindset block of all, is first of all, you have got to stop telling yourself, if you're this person, that I don't like to sell.
Absolutely.
I'm not a salesperson, or I don't know. That, first of all, just change your language. I am a master salesperson, because otherwise, if I'm not selling, how will my business grow?
Absolutely.
I love to enroll people in my programs because I know the power and impact it will have on their lives. I love selling my product to people because it's going to fix that thing that has kept them up at night. And so if your mindset isn't set around your brand, your marketing, and your sales, there's not enough information that you can get that's going to move you significantly forward in the way that you want to move.
Amen, sister. And, let me just also say this. It is as honorable to sell as it is to buy. I'm going to repeat that. It is as honorable to sell as it is to buy. Most of us don't want to be seen as salespeople because all we can think about is that icky used salesperson.
Yes,
right. That's all we can think about. But what if you changed the word sell to serve? And what if you just focused on serving your clients because they have a problem? Like, think about it. And no disrespect. I don't mean any disrespect, but I'm going to use this sharp analogy because it usually gets the point and it creates a disruption. If you had the cure to cancer, would you keep it to yourself?
Right.
And cancer, when you look it up, and again, no disrespect to anyone who's personally experienced it. My mom has cancer right now, so I'm definitely not trying to belittle cancer, trying to make a point. But if you look the word cancer up in the dictionary, it says disease. And disease is anything that is not in ease or flow. So couldn't we say that your clients right now are not experiencing ease and flow in the area of your expertise, meaning they have cancer? And how dare you have the cure to cancer and not tell them that you have the cure to cancer? It's a mindset shift because it says honorable to sell as it is to buy. And when you are a servant, when you are serving, you deserve to get a financial reward for it. I've never been to a restaurant where they didn't serve me and at the end bring me a bill. Never has it happened that way. I'm waiting for the day. So if you have one of these restaurants, please get your information to me because I'd love to come and be a patron in your restaurant. But seriously, so it is a mindset shift in everything, Doreen, as we've talked about. And you know this because you're the radical success coach. Everything is mindset. Everything is mindset. Whatever it is that you want that you are not experiencing, there is a mindset that is keeping you from it. And so you need to get access to someone who can help you get out of your own way. It is hard to see the picture when you are the frame. And I don't care how good you are, you cannot do it for yourself. Doreen and I, we have coaches and mentors, and we've had some of the same coaches and mentors. We can't do it ourselves either. You know what I mean? And so know that your ability to get to wherever it is you want, if you're an entrepreneur, that 6 or 7 figure business, if you're an employee, that C-suite or whatever, part of the management ladder you want to stop on, whichever rung you want to stop on, it is going to take leveling your mindset. It's going to take having a strong brand message. If you are an employee, you're the product, but you still need to have a strong message, right? And it is going to take for you to master that conversation, to really understand the problem you solve and how you solve it and how life changes and relief comes once you show up to solve this problem for them.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Darnyelle.
Oh, my pleasure.
Wisdom and your insight. And I know that you have an upcoming event that I would love for you to share with our listeners.
Absolutely. So this May 23rd through the 25th, I am going to be hosting Breakthrough in Business, which is a 3-day mindset shift incubator. Wink, wink, right? So we've been talking all about the role that mindset plays in your ability to get the success you really want. And so I'm going to spend 3 days with a room full of excited entrepreneurs and really help them get out of their own way. I'm going to show them how to go through what I call the breakthrough blueprint, breaking down what they really want, breaking out from the beliefs that are holding them from it, and then breaking through to the strategies that'll give them what they crave. Over 3 full days this May, it's going to be an intimate, safe space for you to finally, once and for all, get out of your own way and go get what you came here for. So I'm really, really excited about it. I just can't wait. I'm just over the moon excited.
Yes. And we're going to put the web address in our show notes, but tell them where they can learn more.
Absolutely. You can go to breakthroughinbusinessevent.com. Again, that's breakthroughinbusinessevent.com.
And just for you, Darnyelle, how can people connect with you online, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so you can find me everywhere. I'm still out there everywhere as Darnyelle Jervey. We are just starting the transition, so eventually you'll have to put in my new married name. But for now, Darnyelle Jervey on all social media, or our website is incredible1enterprises.com.
Well, thank you so much for being a part of the Radical Success Podcast. I so enjoy our conversations that we have online and offline. And I know that our listeners have walked away with at least 2, 4, 5, 10 nuggets and ahas from this conversation. Any last words for our listeners out there?
Yeah, I would just lastly like to say the world is waiting for the real you to show up. There are so many people right now waiting for you, and they can't get what they need until you show up to serve them. So make it your mission, make it your mantle, make it your mandate, make it your mantra to go out there and be exactly who God intended for you to be, because others are waiting on you to do so.
Thank you so much, Darnyelle.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Radical Success Podcast. We would love to hear from you. Be sure to head over to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Until next time, stay radical.